I want to talk about misinformation and disinformation with regards to the Yes campaign. So people in the Yes campaign, especially Linda Burney, has repeatedly mentioned this new term that's only come out in the last 6 months to a year. It relates to the misinformation bill they want to pass. And basically, Albanese's used it, Linda Burney's used it, Megan Davis has used it. And they're basically saying that the No campaign is spreading mis and disinformation. I think misinformation is when someone says something that they think is true, which actually isn't true. And disinformation is when you know it's not true and it's just lies and you still promote it anyway. So that's the difference, I'm pretty sure, between the two terms. And the No campaign, with regards to The Voice, is being accused of engaging in these two really bad things, apparently. I think there has been a few small instances of that in the past. With regards to the No campaign, I think I recall the No campaign. I think Warren Mundine put something on Twitter with regards to Bob Hawke. That Bob Hawke was against. He did a quote that Bob Hawke said that he's against hierarchy of ancestry or something like that. He mentioned that people shouldn't be judged by their ancestry. And then he would have been against the Voice, apparently. But the truth is, Bob Hawke actually supported treaty. So, you know, if he supported treaty, you'd think he supported Voice as well. So it's not true that, you know, Bob Hawke. I think it was wrong for the No campaign to reference Bob Hawke as some sort of ambassador for the No campaign, which is, you can't really tell because you're not. It's more likely that he would have supported the Yes campaign than opposed it, regardless of what he said in the past about hierarchy of ancestry. Similar to Martin Luther King, all these stupid conservatives always saying that Martin Luther King once said that you should be judged by the content of your character and not by the colour of your skin. This is the same Martin Luther King who supported reparations for black people. So money going to black people because of previous wrongdoings by whites. That proves that people are being judged by the colour of their skin. There's people getting money because of their skin colour. So it's wrong for conservatives, in my opinion, to latch onto these liberals and left-wingers because, you know, it's often misconstrued and not accurate and not appropriate historically. Now, moving on to the topic at hand, so misinformation, disinformation. I emailed Linda Burney some time ago, about a month ago, and I used to do this more often when I was younger, when I had more time. I used to email politicians a lot of hard questions. I used to basically ask them questions that would be hard for them to answer, and it would expose them, basically, because often politicians say one thing and then they do the other. And I basically say, oh, in this interview you said this, but then 6 months later you said this, and I'd say which is, and I try to get an answer out of them. That's just one example of a tactic that I've used, right? I've gotten two things that they've said within a year's time frame where they're contradicting each other, and I basically ask them a simple question, you know, which one is it? So when they answer, basically it's an admission that they got it wrong at some point. So I've done that a lot in the past. Haven't done it for a while, but given the Voice is happening, I thought I'd email Linda Burney, because she's really at the forefront of this whole campaign for the Voice. I'll just try and get the emails up. So I emailed her in June, and I asked her a question. She mentioned in Parliament that the Voice is not going to be commenting on Australia Day, and it's not going to be engaging in cultural wars. Those are direct quotes. She said in Parliament that the Voice will not seek to change Australia Day, and it will not engage in cultural wars. Now, I've addressed this in the previous video. Have a look at it. I'm not going to go over it again, but it's very obvious that's not true. So I emailed her, asking her how she can reconcile that position, given that Dean Parkin and others have made public statements saying that the Voice will seek to change Australia Day. So Dean Parkin is one of the architects of The Voice. He's on the referendum working group, I think. And he's been, he's on public record saying that The Voice will do exactly what Linda Burney said it wouldn't, and that is seek to change Australia. I've done videos about that in the past, so it's worth looking at those as well. It's all 100% accurate what I'm saying. So I emailed her. I didn't get a response, obviously. It's been almost a month and a half now. I've called the office, I think twice, asking them to get back to me. They haven't. They just ignored my calls, basically, and ignored my requests. I emailed them. That was the first email I sent. It went to Dean Parkin only. The second email I sent was maybe 2 weeks after that, and basically I said, "Hi Linda, part of the previous email. How do you know The Voice will be?" Okay, so I basically asked how she knows what The Voice will advise on. Okay, because she spoke at the press club, and she mentioned that The Voice is going to focus on 4 main areas, 4 main pillars. I think housing and 3 other main pillars. And she basically said that those are the areas that The Voice is going to focus on. And the thing is, a politician, given the what's before us with this Voice, and what people like Megan Davis have said. Megan Davis is one of the people that designed The Voice. The Voice is going to have unlimited scope. It can comment about anything and everything. So why is Linda Burney saying that it's only going to focus on 4 things? And what makes her so confident that when she asks The Voice to comment on those 4 areas, housing, etc., that The Voice will actually listen? It's obvious that The Voice is going to talk about whatever it wants, and just because Linda Burney says that it's going to only focus on 4 areas doesn't make it so. Okay, she's basically predicting the future, and you can't do that. You shouldn't be doing that because you can't guarantee it. And she's making guarantees to the Australian public, asking them to vote on that guarantee. Okay, basically asking the people, Australian people, to inform their vote based on her guarantees, and that to me is wrong, and it's deception, and it's lies. So she's engaging in misinformation, disinformation, not only about Australia Day, like I mentioned before in my first email, because people in the voice referendum group are contradicting her, but also she's providing misinformation to the people by saying that The Voice will only focus on 4 areas. And I basically sent her videos and evidence proving from constitutional lawyers, from Megan Davis and other sources who are all confirming that The Voice will have unlimited scope and The Voice can comment on whatever the hell it wants. So why is she sort of trying to limit the scope of The Voice when we know that she can't do that? So I basically asked her, how she can reconcile her comments at the National Press Club with what constitutional lawyers have said and people in the referendum working group have said, like Megan Davis. I think the third email was on July 10th. Okay, this is a very common one that I've come across. I came across it yesterday as well, and I was watching a video from the University of New South Wales. They did a video about The Voice on their YouTube channel, and one of the Master of Ceremonies mentioned this Flora and Fauna Act. There's a lot of misinformation about that Flora and Fauna Act, that Aboriginal are classified as flora and fauna, and Linda Burney has said that. She's on record saying that I think she and her family weren't counted in the census, but were counted under the Flora and Fauna Act. There's a video about that where it's online somewhere, and he's on public record referencing this Flora and Fauna Act and saying that her people were classified under that act. Now, that is 100% not true. Not true. There was no such act in Australia, I don't think. I'm just trying to get to the website. So the ABC itself, which is a left-wing institution, as we all know, did a fact check on this in 2018. If you Google fact check Flora and Fauna Act ABC, you'll see an article from 2018, and it basically explains the history behind this act. I'm just going to have a quick read of it, just to summarise it. Okay. Aboriginal people in Australia have never been covered by the Flora and Fauna Act, either under federal or state law. But despite federal attempts by various people to set the record straight, the myth continues to circulate, perhaps because, as one academic told Fact Check, it, open quote, embodies elements of a deeper truth about discrimination, close quote. Although the claim has been repeated more frequently during the past 10 years, there is evidence to suggest that the myth originated in the early 1970s. Both an expert consulted by Fact Check and a museum website in Western Australia suggest several factors have given rise to the notion that a Flora and Fauna Act once existed. So basically this act never even existed, okay? The act never even existed, and for some reason, especially in the last decade, more and more people who are usually left-wing, radical leftists, like Linda Burney, are basically claiming that Aboriginal are classified under the Flora and Fauna Act. Now, even if that was true, I personally wouldn't care. It seems about accurate to me. If they were described as Flora and Fauna Act, that would completely be justified in my opinion. But it's not the truth. Okay, as much as I love for it to be the truth, I'm in the business of accuracy, and as a lover of history, I believe that you need to be 100% accurate, and you shouldn't be using myths to promote your agenda and to base your identity and your grievances or whatever on absolute myth. You shouldn't be making this sort of stuff up. And this is basically myth history. Okay, it's a Greek word, mythistodia. Basically, people associating myth with history, and that's the Greek element to it, mythistodia, myth history. In the Australian context, Australian political context, to make it more relevant, it's essentially misinformation. Because I don't think Linda knows that it's not true. I think she thinks that it's true, but it's actually not. But she's engaging in misinformation. However, given that I emailed her the evidence in July, if her office has done the right job, the receptionist should have forwarded that information, the ABC Fact Check, to her directly, and she should now know that it's not actually true, and she should apologise for misleading Australians, and she should basically not be repeating that lie moving forward. But something tells me that we're going to hear her in the future repeating this lie, because they just can't handle being told they're wrong. And it also is emblematic of the fact that their own misinformation laws that they want to pass at the end of the year wouldn't even apply to them. So anyone who's been following the misinformation bill should know that this misinformation bill, if passed, will basically only regulate the speech of people like me, people like you, Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, anyone who's not government basically. And the government can say whatever it wants, and it can decide what the truth is, what the truth isn't. They can lie to the people, and this law wouldn't have authority over the government. So the government can provide misinformation, as they have many times in the past, especially regarding COVID, as Linda Burney has done with her reference to the Flora and Fauna Act, and this bill wouldn't even touch them at all. So it should make you wonder what sort of society we're living in when people like Linda can get away with saying whatever she wants, which is part of the government, and then when people try to fact check that and prove them wrong, all her public comments are still online. They're not censored, they're not removed, just like the government's doing. They're literally removing people's tweets and Facebook posts, or basically blurring them because it's wrong. But apparently, these same institutions of power can't do it to themselves, even when they're clearly wrong. It just shows the abject hypocrisy regarding this whole misinformation bill. I think one more email, that is, I'll just quickly read it. Yeah, I basically just reinforced my first point in my first email by basically saying that when Anthony Albanese was on Ben Fordham show radio, he was asked about Australia Day by Ben Fordham. What would the government do if the Voice recommended they change Australia Day? And Anthony Albanese said, we would reject that recommendation. So he's basically giving credence to the idea that the Voice would engage in cultural wars and would try to change Australia Day. Instead of saying what Linda Burney said in Parliament and saying that it wouldn't even come up, it wouldn't be an issue, that the Voice would never engage in cultural wars and would never seek to change Australia Day, Anthony Albanese is actually contradicting them by saying that it is a possibility they might have changed Australia Day, and in that situation, as the government, we would reject that recommendation. But if someone is lying about this. Now, I personally believe Anthony. I think that the Australia Day issue is definitely going to happen if the Voice gets passed. I'll definitely see the change Australia Day. And Linda Burney is wrong. So again, I'm just reinforcing my initial email by providing Linda statements by her own boss, by Anthony, proving that it is definitely a possibility that the Voice can see the change Australia Day. So I don't think I'm going to get a response to these emails. I sent about 4 emails. I've called about twice. Everything's all fact-checked. Everything's all accurate. But for some reason, Linda Burney can just say whatever she wants. She can claim that the Voice is not going to change Australia Day. She can claim that the Flora and Fauna Act is accurate. She can claim that the Voice will only focus on 4 areas, even though she can't control that. Those are just 3 examples. All those examples I've given in this video are just 3 examples of the Yes campaign, or just one Yes campaign, that's just one person, engaging in misinformation, disinformation. And they have the gall to accuse other people of engaging in that sort of behaviour as well. Okay? It's just very hypocritical. It's very frustrating because I'm just wondering, am I the only one seeing this? Is everyone else not seeing this? This is why I made the videos proving it, because I was like, I'm very analytical. When I listen to politicians talk, I like to download what they're saying, I like to record what they're saying, and I basically try to make sure that they're not lying to me, because I hate people that lie to me and who say one thing and do the other. And for a few months, I was just seeing all these contradictions, so many contradictions, and I started downloading all the videos and making my own videos proving that they're lying to these people. This is just one snippet of what I've found, of the sort of lies that I've found. One more thing I'll mention, so a 4th piece of misinformation that I've already mentioned in the previous video, is the fact that Linda Burney was also on the project a couple months ago, and she was asked about the detail, and she said on national television that the question on the referendum ballot paper will be decided soon, and she was right about that. That has been decided, and also the model will be decided soon. So she admitted on national television that before the referendum is voted on, the model of the Voice will be decided on, and that's not true. Later on, she completely went against that. Anthony Albanese has admitted that that's not true. Okay, I made a video about that. Linda Burney has later basically contradicted what she said and said that after the referendum, that's when we'll get the model, exactly what it's going to look like. Anthony Albanese has said the same thing. Megan Davis has said the same thing. Also, Tom Calma has said the same thing as well. He spoke at the University of New South Wales recently. That video is going to come up in about 2-3 weeks. That's going to be released in 2-3 weeks. But basically, he said that the Voice of Parliament, the detail, the model, will be decided after the referendum. Yet for some reason, on national television, Linda Burney said that the model will be decided before the referendum. That's a 4th piece of misinformation that she has spurted out to the Australian people. And they wonder why people are voting no. So many lies, and the fact they get away with it makes me very angry. The fact that their own misinformation laws, which haven't been passed yet, wouldn't cover this sort of stuff, should make you and me and everyone very angry. Okay? They are just obsessed with control. They want to control your speech, but they don't want to regulate their own speech, even when they're wrong. okay, and I've emailed her because I want it on record that she's wrong, and who's got any integrity, she would recant her views, she'd apologise for misleading the Australian people, and should be deleting these comments that she's made in the past on whether it be Facebook or Twitter, or asking whoever uploaded the video to delete the video, or to put a caption saying it is actually false information. But I don't think she's going to do that, okay? Because they're just such scumbags. These politicians are just such scumbags. They're traitors. And, well, Kathleen Bird is not really a traitor, but he's not even Australian, but they're just absolute retards, and they're obsessed with control. And we need to be waking up to this sort of stuff, okay, exposing it, okay, and talking to our friends and family about all these lies, because people don't like being lied to, okay? This is one thing that we can use, we can leverage, is the fact that we're being lied to. And more often than not, if you prove to some average person that the government is lying to them about a certain issue, okay, that offends a lot of people, being lied to. So we need to use that. We need to use that automatic human reaction to being lied to basically prove to people that, yeah, you're being lied to. Are you going to be voting for this voice? Well, hopefully you're not. And I think a lot of people, when they realise they're being lied to, that natural human reaction to being lied to, they're like, okay, screw them, I'm voting no. Okay, as a fuck you to the system, that the system lies to them. So that's one way we can, one tool we can use. The fact that they're spreading misinformation, people know this, people know they're being lied to, they're less likely to vote for the voice.